Happy to be here with you today. My name's Karla Sunderlin, and I serve as a regional area coordinator with Operation Christmas Child. And can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay, good. So I'm sort of local to you folks. I support 7 counties in Pennsylvania. I currently live in Curwensville over in Clearfield County, but I grew up in Punxsutawney. So just a little hop, skip, and a jump away from you folks. I'm a little bit familiar with your area here. Yes. Oh. Well, they gave me this one here, so I. Oh, I gotcha. You need me to go over here. I misunderstood the mic system. I'm sorry. There we go. Last June, actually June of 2024, I had the incredible privilege of traveling the quick 26-hour trip to Nairobi, Kenya, where I got the opportunity to hand deliver the shoebox gifts to the children there. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about what really does happen after you pack your shoebox gift. I'm sure many of you have packed a shoebox and you've brought it back to the church and you've set it down, and that's really all you get to know about it beyond that once it's taken away to one of our drop-off locations. So I'm going to share with you exactly what the ministry is all about and what it looks like when those boxes get handed to the children. So I brought a map for you to show you, just in case you weren't sure where Kenya was. Kenya sits in East Africa, right on the equator there, and we stayed in the capital city of Nairobi, and we would travel out about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of the city into some villages and deliver shoebox gifts to the children there. And I never like to assume when I'm in a room, has anyone else ever been to East Africa before? No hands. Okay. So I brought you along some photos just to kind of show you what it looks like there. This photo is typically what it looks like as we were traveling down through some of the towns. Very third world country circumstances there. And we saw a lot of trash laying around. The buildings are in quite disarray. And livestock just runs loose everywhere you go. Our vehicles had a hard time moving around sometimes because you had to wait for cattle to get out of the way or the goats that are running around. This is what a typical produce market looks like. So if you are going to go shopping for your groceries, this is where you go. I did not see any Walmart supercenters while I was there. So this is where the folks pick up a lot of their food. Also saw a lot of street markets like this that sell clothing. The one thing I noticed while I was there, I saw clothing for sale everywhere. There was just tons and tons of these clothing shops around. But a lot of it is, as you can clearly see, definitely used clothing, second, third, and maybe even fourth-hand clothing. But what I did learn while I was there, that if in Kenyan culture, if you're going to attend a church service or any kind of special event in town, it is just what they do. They show up in their very, very best that they have. And a lot of times when we would be in an area where the living conditions were really just very, very difficult, still the children would show up to the event in a little dress or some slacks or something, and this is where they would be able to afford to get something like that to arrive. And the pastors that we met with would tell us that if I'm going to see this child come back week after week, they will be in the very same outfit every single time until they outgrow it or it's just in shambles and they can't wear it anymore. And just as an example, this little girl left one of our events and her little dress just caught my eye, so I took a little photo as she's leaving, holding her shoebox gift there. So sometimes a nice little outfit is a good item to put in your shoebox gift. But I'm here today to talk to you mostly about what Operation Christmas Child is, and we stand very firmly on these 3 pillars. Operation Christmas Child is all about evangelism, discipleship, and multiplication. And I'll explain each of these pillars as we go along, in case you're not familiar with what they mean. But this is what we stand on. Without these 3 pillars, it is just a box of toys that has no eternal value whatsoever. So we want to make sure we're watching out for these as we go along here. So the first stop we made was the House of Transformation Church in Kasarani, and this is Pastor Chris. And he was very excited to welcome us in to his facility there, excited that Operation Christmas Child was coming in. He and his team have spent a very long time cleaning up this building to provide a safe, clean area to invite people from his community in to hear about Jesus. This building had recently been sitting on a dump site. So they spend a lot of time fixing it up to offer that in this community. When we went inside, I looked out the side window upstairs, and this is kind of what the area looks like. So I took some photos there just to show you that they still got a little work to do, but they're definitely trying to make it a nice place for people in that community to come to. When we went into the backyard, what a delight to see about 150 children that had arrived to the event. Now what happens is they don't know they're getting a gift. Our ministry partners that work in country have gone around in the community and just invited families. We have a special event we would like you to attend. So they've come in for something special. They're not sure what's about to happen. But it was nice to see these big, beautiful tents set up. If you remember, I told you I was in Kenya in June, right on the equator. Those were there to protect us from the sun. However, if you remember anything from science class, on the other side of the world in June, it's actually winter, right? So I'm running around helping with the things. You know, I'm here from Pennsylvania, and I'm sweating. In their winter time, it's about 80, 85 degrees in their winter. And the Kenyans were giggling at me because they were chilly. A lot of them had coats on or wool sweaters and winter hats at 80, 85 degrees. So they had a nice little giggle at me as the sweat was rolling down the sides of my face as I'm running around doing things. So I really appreciated those tents. So what happens first is the children hear a lesson called The Greatest Gift. And these are some of our trained ministry partners, and they are they're acting out the program for the kids. And we have these big, beautiful flipboards. If you can see the one teacher, she's flipping pages as the other one is telling stories. This way, they can see some pictures, right? We're introducing them to Jesus for the first time. They don't have television screens and the technology that we have in a lot of the places that we deliver. So we provide them with these flipboards. And if the event is larger, we'll see many of those spread out through the event. So we make sure every child can see and hear the message that we're trying to get across. So this is our first pillar, evangelism. So as soon as the teachers are all finished with the Greatest Gift program, every child is going to receive that in a booklet form in their own language to take home. And the Greatest Gift program is all about making sure people understand who Jesus was, right? So we're going to start with at the very beginning, what the Bible says, in the beginning, God, right? And then we move on to Jesus and his birth and some of the miracles he performed. We talk about the greatest problem the world has, which is sin, and why he had to be crucified. And of course, the resurrection that provides us that free gift of salvation. So they get to hear all about the whole life of Jesus and then take it home. This is very important because if they want to refer back to what they heard, they've got it. Or if they want to share it with someone else, they'll be able to do that. I love this photo that I took. I've been praying for this little guy that he's going to share Jesus with somebody. He's going to flip the book the right side way up because he's got Jesus on his head right now. But here we are passing out shoebox gifts to the kids, and that was an incredible joy for me. We make sure and we tell them as we hand the children the box, Jesus loves you. This is a gift from Jesus, making sure they understand where it actually comes from. And in Kenya, they speak English, about 50% of them, and the other half speak Swahili. So we learned how to say Jesus loves you in Swahili, Yesu anakupenda. That way we made sure every child could hear and know that Jesus loves them. Something about this photo I want you to understand and see there. You can see around the outskirts of the building, or excuse me, the outskirts of the event, there's parents, right? And they're kind of trickling into where we are as we're handing out the shoebox gifts. And I noticed while I was, I would grab some of the gifts off the table, and I was bending down to hand them out, and I'm talking to the kids, and there's this little tug in my arms. And it's the parents, and they're pulling the gifts from our arms, and in a kind of a desperation to make sure that their child gets a box, right? And that behavior surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. But you can see this fella beside me there. It's kind of hard to tell in the picture, but his hand is pointing to the girl in the yellow jacket. And I can hear him because he's right beside me. And he's looking back to the table where we have the shoe boxes stacked. You can kind of see it in his eyes. He's like calculating how many boxes are still on that table. And he's beside me and he's saying, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter. Just very very desperate to make sure. This is such a special opportunity for them. They could never hand their child a gift like this without us coming in. That's where we learn the value of this shoebox gift, right? To the parents, what this means. So the money in Kenya is called shillings. We call ours dollars, they call theirs shillings. And it costs a Kenyan, depending on their age, anywhere from 1 to 200 shillings a day to eat. And a dollar is equal to about 126 shillings. And a shoebox can be worth anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 shillings typically. So that's equal to about 25 days worth of food for one person, right? So as a parent living in those circumstances, handing that box to their child was a very big deal. That's almost a month's worth of food for them. So that's where that behavior came from. Once all the shoe boxes were given out and everyone saw that we had boxes for everyone, that concern turned into great joy. Lots of tears flowing, parents hugging us, thanking us. Please go back home and thank everyone. This is, it was such a joyful time for them. I brought a video to show you some of the kids opening their boxes. Would you like to see them do that? Yeah, all right. I hope those dollies made it home with all their limbs. Yeah. So what we notice here, what happens typically is we sit the 2 to 4-year-old children in the front rows, and then the 5 to 9s get sat in the middle, and the 10 to 14s in the back. So the eruption always begins in the back of the room first because they're a little older and they kind of know what to do. But the ones in the front, not so sure. When we tell them they get to open this gift and we'll count down and there's excitement, and if you saw, the ones in the front were kind of looking around like they weren't sure what to do. So we often had to run up to the front rows and say, open your box, because so many of them have never received a gift before. They did not understand the concept of, I've given you this thing and you get to open it. They're just so unsure of that. So we always pass the boxes out in the back first, and then the younger, or the middle age, and then the youngers last. Because till we do the countdown, it's really hard for them to hold it without peeking. So the older ones can usually hold it just a little bit longer, but that's why we hear the eruptions in the back of the room first. Our next stop was at the Masako School for the Mentally and Physically Disabled. And I'm not sure if you ever considered that when you pack a shoebox gift that it might be handed to a child with challenges like this. But we walked into this school and we saw, just as you can see here, wheelchairs and walkers and crutches and all kinds of things to help these kids here. And you're not seeing any parents on the outskirts of this event because this is a boarding school, so these children live here full time. In Kenya, they don't have a lot of know-how or resources to care for their children if they happen to be born with a challenge like this. So they're often taken to a facility like this to live. That is their teacher in the photo in the white and blue dress. Her name is Jacqueline. And I really appreciated her so much. She loves these children. She has a very small staff, and you can see how many children that are in this room right now. But as usual, the greatest gift presentation was given. And what I appreciated about their teacher, Jackie, so much was that she took her smaller teacher guide and she went up and down the rows, because in this circumstance, she knew which students were going to need an extra minute to fully understand what we were trying to teach them. So she would walk up and down and stop at certain students and repeat what they were saying to make sure, because this is our chance, right? We have this opportunity to share Jesus with them, and we want to make sure that they're understanding. It was so fun to open gifts with these children. Many of them had not seen the items in the shoebox before, so we had to do a lot of explaining of some of the toys and some of the things that they were getting. You can see this fella was extremely mesmerized by the handheld flashlight in his box. He stared into that light so long, I got a little nervous for his eyes. He just really didn't want to stop gazing into that light. This is my friend Glenna. We did a lot of teaching on what to do if you get a harmonica in your box. Many of them, we would hand them the harmonica and they would stare at it and look at us and stare. They weren't sure what that was. So we would bend over and try to teach them how to blow into it. And eventually, when they would get it and that first sound comes out of a harmonica, that's pretty exciting for them when they were not sure before what it would do. This fella here holding a string up and saying, like, what is this? It's a yo-yo. And he had never seen a yo-yo before and didn't know how to play with it, so we had to teach him how to do that. I'm not a good yo-yoer, so I was the worst yo-yo teacher. I can get it down, and that's about it. So if I ever go back, I'm going to have to practice yo-yoing before I go. But I took this photo because I wanted you to see, no matter what type of event we were at, I saw this many times. Even after the excitement of the shoebox was open, so many of the children went right back to their booklet. Who is this Jesus that sent me this gift? So curious, and they wanna know him and see his face again and learn about him. So to me, that's very exciting. This culture here believes that children are born with these types of challenges, likely because a witch doctor has put a curse on them. There are not a lot of evangelical churches in the area. Witch doctors are pretty much in charge around there. And also, if they do believe in God, they think God must be really, really mad at them, and that's why this happened to them. So what a joy to have shoebox gifts, to be able to go in and spend time with children and let them know that God has not forgotten about you and you are loved, and God has this perfect plan of salvation for you as well. We also stopped at a TGJ classroom. So if you're not aware of this, TGJ stands for the Greatest Journey. Every child that receives a shoebox gift is invited to come back for a 12-week discipleship program called the Greatest Journey. How many of you were not aware of the secondary program after the shoebox? Yeah, it's okay if you weren't aware. Lots of people don't know about it. Yeah, lots of hands. I'm so glad you learned that today. In my opinion, this is the bread and butter of our program, because once children get saved, they're going to need some guidance with that, right? When we got saved, we got to come to church, or we had family members or somebody around us like to mentor us a little bit. And when they come back for this program, they're going to learn about the importance of daily prayer, daily devotion, how to have that relationship with Jesus, and how to share their faith with others. So this is our second pillar, discipleship. And this is the Kilmacimway Baptist Church. We went inside and saw the students working on so these kids had probably received their shoe boxes about 3 weeks prior to this. So they were on lesson 2 when we went in there. And you can see they have these booklets on their lap, and they're listening to their teacher go through some of the program. Took some close-ups of their faces as they were studying. I just found that so awesome, how deeply their attention to it was very strong. They were very excited to be able to attend this class. And in fact, on the way out the door, they were high-fiving us and very excited to come back next week. They couldn't wait. So we also had a time of recess with them. Of course, if you're in class, you got to have recess time, right? So we played with them for a little while. Unfortunately, the videos on this slide aren't playing today. I'm not sure what happened, but the 2 children there, I had videos of them actually using their jump ropes that they received in their shoebox gift. So we were counting them out, and that little girl in the middle, she got to about 60 jumps when we finally had to stop her. And the little boy got to about 7. So we had a giggle that the girls are definitely just better at jump roping than boys for whatever reason. But we had a good time playing with them. And then after the 12-week discipleship program, if the children complete it, they get to come back. We throw a really fun party. They get to go through a graduation service, they get a certificate, and they receive a Bible in their own language. So that is another extremely awesome aspect of our program. It's not just about the shoebox gift. They're getting some discipleship, and then they leave with the Word of God in their hands. And the last stop that we made was the Christian Foundation Fellowship Church in the Mathry slums. So the Mathry slums are known for being like the worst slum area in all of Nairobi. Really, really difficult area. I took a photo. This is the building that's next door to the church that we went into, just so you can kind of see how rough the area is. And in fact, when we pulled up, of course, we had awesome Samaritan's Purse security with us. But when we first pulled in, they in fact told us, stay in the vans. There's a little bit of ruckus. Somebody in the community knows you're here and doesn't really want you here, so we just kind of had to wait till they kind of made sure it was safe for us to go in, because it's just a really rough community here. This is the building. When we went in, the first thing I noticed was the roof of this building, how the peaks are not really even coming together. And there's a big hole up there and a huge support trying to hold it up. And so I thought that was interesting. I took a photo of it right away. I think whenever it rains, they just get wet. There's really no other choice there. But the pastor of this church, his name was Pastor Lucas, and he was a street preacher in the area. And he felt God calling him to open a church in this really difficult mission field. And so it took him a while, but he saved up the equivalent about of $150, and he bought this building so that he could invite families in to hear about Jesus. So we partnered with him and went inside, and what a joy. About 170 children from this difficult community came in to receive a shoebox gift and to hear about Jesus. And this is where I'm going to show you our third pillar. It's what we call multiplication. Samaritan's Purse is tracking that for every shoebox given, it's likely that 8 to 10 more people are going to hear the gospel because of every shoebox gift. And I'm going to go back one slide for a minute. See, we have parents at this event who are sitting there also listening to the greatest gift presentation. And after all of the fun of the shoebox was opened and everything, I was mingling around, and I went over to talk with the parents for a little bit, and so many of them were sobbing and saying, "We're so excited to hear about a God who has not forgotten us." They live in such difficult circumstances. There's also some people that work at our events for security purposes and other ways, and also children are very, very bold. They're going to go back home. They're going to show the rest of their family. They're going to show their friends and people around in their neighborhood, "Look what Jesus sent me." And they're going to say, "Who is Jesus? Who would send something like this to you?" That's what we call multiplication. Would you like to see these kids open their boxes? All right. The first little boy that made eye contact with me in that room after the boxes were open, he pulled out a green spiral notebook and he started to wave it at me like a flag. He was so excited to have his own paper. This is Pastor Lucas. This is his church. And he and his wife came up onto our vehicle as we were getting ready to leave. And he has this grin on his face, and I took his picture because I thought I got to show everybody this grin. Remember that his mission field is really difficult. The area is completely overtaken by drug and alcohol problems, prostitution, trafficking, violence against children. The witch doctors are in charge. I mean, this place is rough. And he came up onto our van, and with that grin, he said, "Today changes everything." So I want you to remember, when you pack your shoebox, it's more about giving the child a box of toys. It's about evangelism, discipleship, and multiplication, furthering God's kingdom, but it's also about linking arms with brothers and sisters in Christ around the world who might have a really difficult mission field, but we can partner with them. God had called him to buy that really rough building, to have a place to share Jesus with people. And because shoeboxes were coming in that day, it was full. So remember that as you're packing as well. I want to thank you for having me today. I had a good time sharing with you a little bit more about the ministry, hoping that you have a better understanding while you're packing your box what it really means to do that. I don't know if there's time. If anybody has a question for me that I could answer for you, not sure if I'm getting a nod. Yes. Is there anything that I could answer for you about Operation Christmas Child? That's a good question. So in general, just let me say there's never enough boxes. Always keep packing more boxes. But per event, how that works is our ministry partners, they go out in the community and they invite and they sort of do RSVP system style. They let us know who's coming. And then of course we always take a few extra because word gets around that something exciting is happening and sometimes extras will trickle in. So there's always children in the community that don't attend for whatever reason they choose not to. So we like to come back around in a cycle of time to reach as many as we possibly can. But in general, at each event, we try very hard to make sure we have enough. Yes. And just to give you a little bit better understanding of that multiplication factor. So I don't know if you knew this, but Operation Christmas Child sent out nearly 12 million shoebox gifts last season. And this what you saw in Kenya was just one instance. We deliver in over 170 countries around the world, and 12 million shoe boxes with that multiplication that we see. You multiply 12 million by 10. That is the amount of people that are hearing the gospel through Operation Christmas Child. God is really using this ministry to sweep across the earth. So it is. I mean, it's such a wonderful thing to be involved with and to try to encourage others to pack a box. It's such a simple thing we can do to be a part of something so huge that God is doing. Anything else I could answer for you?
I have another one.
Yes.
Are you short on any of the age groups? Like, is there one that people don't give to, like the older kids?
Yeah. So every year, I mean, when you have three different groups, two genders and three ages, someone has to be in last place every year. Like we can't always have the equal amount. It typically is the boys 10 to 14, and next in line is usually the boys 2 to 4. But when we get that word out, guess what happens? Everybody packs for those, and then another group will kind of land in that last place. So but we truly believe that we serve a sovereign God who's got a handle on it. He knows every child that's going to receive the box, and He has that planned out. So just pack as you feel led, as far as which one you're choosing to pack for.
When you do it online, do you get to choose, pick and choose, or is it chosen for us?
No, packing online is so fun. The first thing you'll do is you'll decide if you're packing for a boy or a girl, and then you'll pick the age range, and then you'll see a virtual shoebox on your screen. And then all the items that you get to choose from are up on the top, and you actually drag them down and you put them in your shoebox. And at the end, you can add your $10 donation, and you can even upload your photo. If you like to put a photo and letter in your box, you can write out a letter and add a photo and everything. So it's just like doing a physical box, but on the screen. Yeah. And that's really, I don't know if some of you noticed in my videos and such, all of the boxes the kids were opening were very similar. They were the plastic lid boxes. Those are what online boxes look like. The whole distribution in Kenya that year was all online built boxes, and that's why they were similar. Yeah. Online boxes go to harder to reach countries when the customs regulations are stricter about what we can get into the country, and sometimes countries are hard to reach because of it's just quite dangerous to share the gospel there. So we will often use those online built boxes to get into those more harder to reach countries. Sure, I love it.
Do you do this all year, or is this just at Christmas?
I do this all year.
You go around and pass out all year.
Yeah, sort of. So really, shoeboxes do not reach every child by Christmas time. In fact, you heard me say in the beginning that I was in Kenya in June, right? So you kind of have to. We have a Christmas theme because Jesus is the Christmas child, right? But not every box lands where it needs to by Christmas. Do we have them all processed and ready to leave the United States before Christmas? Yes, we do. But it takes a long time for them to travel. Most travel by ship. And once they reach country, it can take a long time for customs to allow a shipment into a country. So we deliver shoe boxes up into usually by July and August, we're finished for the year as far as delivering. So it can take a while. Yeah. So if you were at home on Christmas Day, imagining your child that you packed a box for opening it that day, it's not likely to happen on that day. We do reach some children by Christmas Day in the countries that are directly south of us. It's a little quicker and easier to get in there faster, but the other ones take a while. Yeah. Did I answer your question properly? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I hope that you all got a little refresh on what Operation Christmas Child really is. And so I hope you'll pack your box this year with a little bit more excitement. And the 10 extra boxes that Beth is asking you all to pack, that's an initiative that we have here in the Mid-Atlantic North. We are encouraging every church, whatever you packed last year, if you could pack just 10 more than that, we'll be able to fill 100 sea containers of shoe boxes leaving Pennsylvania and New Jersey as a group together. So that's what the extra 10 are for. That's to help us reach a larger amount of fill a larger amount of shipping containers out of our region. Okay, thank you so much for having me. Had a great time with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our Sunday message online. If you would like to join us, we invite you to our in-person worship that begins at 10:30 each Sunday morning. If you are listening online and would like to make a donation, you may do so by visiting our church website at www.pcmarion.org and click on the Give Now button. May God bless you and have a great week.